I'm not going to sit and speculate about it.
Dr. Margee and science.
See you guys.
I like this.
Good luck,
Wow.
and we're off.
He didn't really care about university. People start questioning what's going on here.
She made changes, and she made them quickly.
Why are you here? It's something clicked in me there. J.D. Millinger, thank you for coming here.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Absolutely. I want to talk in this conversation about AUBG, naturally.
Sure, of course.
And we can go in any topic you would be more comfortable speaking about.
Very good.
Right?
I'll follow your lead.
First of all, can you please summarize your work experience before AUBG and then throughout AUBG life?
Sure. Okay, so I did two things in general prior to coming to AUBG. So I had my work as a professor, right? So in other words, as a teacher educator, as a scholar, that belonged to several different faculties at several different universities. So I had that sort of strain of my professional life.
Where are you from originally? Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Originally, you meaning like where did I grow up?
Yeah.
Where do you come from is always a very tricky question for people, right? What do you really say? Where are you really from? We don't know. What stories we choose to accept or not accept, embrace, not embrace. Different topic.
Where were
though.
you born?
I was born in central Kansas in the United States.
Interesting.
So I was from a small town there, Mennonite community largely, although not nothing cultish or strange. Just
Sure.
that's the sort of cultural heritage and religious heritage from that area. And I lived there for most of my childhood. And then I was in a junior college studying liberal arts for 2 years after that, which was also in the same town. My parents, or at least my father, for all of the years that we lived in Heston, which is a little town in Kansas that I'm from, he worked at this college. Heston College is what it was called. So I was there for 2 years, after which time then I left Kansas and have come back many, many, many times. But at this point, then my life itinerary starts moving in a lot of different directions. So rather than take you fully through the thread in a kind of diachronic manner, maybe I can just simply say, after that I lived and studied in Germany for a little while. I came back to finish a bachelor's degree in the United States, lived in Seattle. In between going back to school, then I lived in Minneapolis, in Minnesota for years during graduate school. So my graduate work, my PhD, is from the University of Minnesota. Loved it there. But in the midst of being there in Minneapolis and studying at the University of Minnesota, 3 of those graduate years, 3.5 of those graduate years were outside of the US. So I was in Berlin in Germany for 2 of those years. I was in Copenhagen for 1.5 years at that point. One of the summers was in France. So it was really zigzagging all over the place. And for all of the students out there, graduate school is a wonderful thing for so many reasons. Intellectually stimulating, professionally, like empowering, but it's a great way to prolong your adolescence. It's great.
Let's go.
No, really, like for me it was, and I mean this in a serious way in the sense that it gave me opportunities to travel, live in different places. I really loved it. So that was part of what I loved about that. Then I moved to Lithuania after finishing in Minnesota.
Why?
So, because when I was just out of high school, and I was 2 years out of high school, when I'd been 20 years old, my parents moved to Lithuania. So my father was offered the rector's position at the small, private, liberal arts, American and North American style university in this former Soviet zone.
Sounds familiar, right?
Very familiar, right? That's what happened. So my parents moved. Like they sold the house and said, "It's been a great, 20 years in Kansas, and see you guys.
I like this.
Good luck, and we're off." I never lived there with them at all, but had started dating someone from there, and things were getting very serious and coming to a point where, there was a question of, all right, I'm finished with my PhD, now what? And she was in Lithuania. I had just finished up in Minnesota, and we had been together in some of these other spots in Europe. And then was a question, what now? So the answer was, you've got a job, I don't. I'll come to Lithuania. And so I came there for the year and worked at a couple different universities there. I worked at ultimately 3 different universities in Lithuania. This small liberal arts place called LCC International University. So I worked there. in some way, shape, or form, I worked there the entirety of those years. I also worked at Vytautas Magnus University, and I still keep some connections loose, but few connections to that university. But I was a professor there for close to 16 years. And then worked at a couple of other Lithuanian universities with just little gigs here and there. But that one year turned into 16 years. So then I came to AUBG after that. So this is a really long version.
How you ended up here, though? Why here? Why Bulgaria? Why AUBG?
Seriously, because a firm contacted me saying, we are doing a search for the provost's role. There's a provost's role at AUBG that's open, and would you be interested in a conversation? And
fair enough.
So yeah, at the time, I was in a position at LCC that was similar to the provost's position here. So it was sort of the executive's role in charge of academics at this institution. And
how many years have you worked here in AUBG?
3. This is my 7th semester.
7th semester.
So this is 3, going on 3.5 now.
And you were a provost throughout the whole time, and now you're an interim president and provost.
Exactly. That is correct.
While you were provost, who was the president at that time? Only Margee, Professor Margee Ensign, or
no? There was
Professor Evans. Before
yeah, I was 1 year with David Evans when he was the president, and then when President Ensign was here, we were then together for the last 2 years. And so with her departure, then came a transition point in which, the question was, well, this is happening in August. The board basically said, I think we'd rather take our time, put our people in place here, and do a proper search.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening now. That leads to this situation, though, where at this point, I'm trying to cover 2 roles.
Yeah.
And
challenging?
It's a challenging thing to do. Unquestioned. I mean, there are times in which you could look at a provost's role and a president's role and see similarities. At times, both can be externally facing and work with partners and other groups, and it can seem like you're doing similar things. But the reality is they ultimately do not serve the same functions at the university, despite that a provost is there to sort of be support and to be a sort of second, as it were, in the event that a president's not available. So there's a lot of filling in that happens as a provost at different times, but ultimately, you do different things. It's
interesting you mentioned the word transition.
Yeah.
Dr. Margee Ensign, she was sitting in the same chair you're sitting in right now.
Good.
Last semester.
Very
and
good.
She used the same exact word in the global sphere of AUBG, transitioning, making changes, etc., etc. Before I ask about her, I want to ask about Evans.
Yeah.
Professor Evans. How was working with him? And what would you say, but honestly, I understand that you have maybe some personal connections to him, and but please, honestly, how was working with him, and how would you describe him as a president for the period he was there?
Well, if you look at the whole scope of AUBG's history,
all right,
there are very few presidents that have been at AUBG for long periods of time. He has to be close to, if not, the second longest serving AUBG president.
Sure.
So it's interesting. He came in on an interim tag, right? So they had the need for an interim president. There were connections, I think, through a board member, and so Dr. Evans was hired there. He had come from I think a place in Vermont.
So from your experience, how was working with him? Sorry to interrupt.
Great.
Again.
No problem. Great. David's an incredibly pleasant person to work with. Very smart guy. Very good with details off the top of his head. I was always really, really impressed with that. Like, you could have a conversation with David and he would remember details of a given situation that you're working on. Like, okay, we got a problem over here. Let's work on it. Let's think about this. And he could keep a lot of stuff in his head at the same time. And I was always very, very impressed by that for myself. I need to take notes. I need the chance to kind of think things over a little bit, pause, ask questions, and he was really good at assimilating information quickly. So I had great admiration for that. I also just thought he was a pleasant person to work with, and liked that about him very much.
The impression I got with speaking with alumni and people who were studying while he was a president here is that he didn't really care about university.
Really?
That's the impression I get. So he was just using the nowadays terminology is a chill guy, just kind of in the shadows, not doing much. What would you say to that?
I would say quite the opposite of that. I thought he cared deeply about the university, honestly. I think he was a president at a time in which it's difficult to demonstrate to everyone how much you may care about the university, because he was the one who was giving leadership during COVID.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, at some level, like, it's hard to communicate with all the constituencies when you can't be in front of people. And so, again, I wasn't here during any of, most of those years. So all of those years. And so I don't know exactly how that was. But my sense with Dr. Evans was that he actually really cared deeply. So, I mean, for my own response, I would say I've never seen that kind of thing. He is at times a chill person, at times not a chill person.
I see.
But in terms of his dedication to the university, I don't think there's any question.
Now, about Dr. Ensign.
Yeah.
Once again, how was working with her? And especially about her, I would say, mysterious and somewhat unexpected departure from our university. It's what bothers people, I think, around the campus. They didn't get the needed explanation what happened. And as you know, there are pretty severe rumors going around her departure. How do you address that?
Well, I don't address rumors.
Sure. Let's talk
in
about
general,
that.
not worth my time for sure. I don't think it's worth anybody's time. But that's Dr. Ensign left on her terms. Having agreed with the board about matters. So, for all we know, that's the situation that we work with.
There is no scandal, no conflict.
No, there's not a scandal. I mean, conflict you have to imagine when anybody leaves for any particular reason, whether that conflict is within their own sphere, their own life. Somebody may need to leave because there's something with their, again, this is not the case, I don't think, but you could have somebody leave. I might leave because there's someone back in Kansas who needs me, or there's something on campus. But, conflict is a normal thing in anybody's existence. But in terms of working with her, she came in and absolutely hit the ground running. Right, so she was, she was
so you
eager
were satisfied working with her work, let's say, working with her and with her work.
She got stuff. She made changes, and she made them quickly, right? And so I sometimes yes, sometimes I don't know if I would fully. I don't know that I disagreed with them. I really liked a lot of the directions that she went with things, but she moved quickly, and she herself would be the first to tell you this, right? She's here to get some stuff done, and that's how she operates. And so, she came in with a vision for saying we want to be a university known for democratic education and practices, and so we're going to foreground our Center for Information Democracy and Citizenship, and we want to push civic engagement. And she had, as one should as a president, a vision for what she wanted to see the institution be, and she moved quickly. She got people that she wanted into positions that she wanted them in, and made moves, and at times that can move too quickly, or not. I mean, so again, sometimes it's good to have somebody just rattle the cage a little bit and move us forward. But some of the questions, I think, are, are we making sure that we're taking care of core business with students and teaching? But again, that doesn't all land on the president's desk. I mean, a lot of a university is a lot of people working together in orchestration to make things happen. And so you can have a leader that has a vision, that has influence, that is charismatic, or that is quietly charismatic, however that works. But the university ultimately has to work together. So
I don't want to assume things here, and I don't. That's the last thing I want to gossip, right? But playing devil's advocate here.
Okay.
One, do not simply walk out of office and delete all her social media or her LinkedIn and whatever. And I would say that's one of the primary reasons people start questioning what's going on here. That's I think the main point. Do you know something about it?
Well, look, I'm not going to sit and speculate about it. I know what information we have received that is publicly given. And the rest of it, for me, is to concentrate on what we're doing here and now.
Makes sense. Fair enough.
I mean, this is, if nothing else, I can promise you there's no time to worry about it. Like, I worked well with Dr. Ensign in terms of, I feel like personally we worked well together. And at this point, I'm just moving on to whatever needs to happen next for the university.
Let's talk about nowadays matters and issues. First of all, how do you feel about the fact that university is actively searching for a president? In the same time, you're an interim president and provost. What are your plans? How do you feel about it? Because, just a context. If I would be in a position and I know that people are actively searching, my management is actively searching for person to replace me, basically. Sorry to put in
No, it's
this
okay. I'll
words.
explain this.
I'm interested. How do you feel about it?
Oh, I'm very comfortable with it. It's the university is, and the board are doing exactly what they should. Like, we should have a full search, all the bells and whistles, like looking for the person who should lead the university in its, next era, let's say. And that's the right thing to do. So, I have to be a little bit careful. It's not a secret that I'm also a candidate for it. But I have to be careful too, not to create conflicts of interest.
Sure.
So I don't want to talk about it too much, just other than to say, I think it's a very good thing that the university is doing a search. It's the absolute best thing for it.
Maybe one of the most important questions that I'm going to ask today is, what is your vision about university? What is your vision where university needs to go, how it needs to do it, and more or less, why are you here? Which part of this is you?
More than anything, I care about AUBG continuing to be unique. And for me, its uniqueness is to be a liberal arts institution with a residential community to it. And to me, that remains something that we simply don't find in this part of the world very much. And I think it's incredibly valuable. It's my own, background too. I went to these kinds of institutions as a student. I grew up around them, and as well seeing how they worked, watching my family every year, for example, adopt. It would be as if we called them mods at Heston College, but it would be like, I don't know, 12, 15, 16 people, like in one of the dorm floors, in one of the res halls. It would be like if someone in the community just said, hey, once a month you'll all come over for dinner, and you can all come over anytime if you want to do laundry, or like you can hang out and sit in the basement and watch movies, or like you just adopt them once a year. That kind of attitude was modeled for me a long time ago. So I kind of, like I said, I grew up around some of this a little bit, and I would say, especially with the onset of AI and the ways in which university education can conceivably change in the coming years, because
it's already changing.
And interestingly, right, expertise and information is now the most democratized possible thing, right? Whereas it used to be, in some respects, the most exclusive thing you could have was a certain kind of expertise, and now to do some of these technological things. So look, obviously this is subtle. There are other versions of what expertise is.
Sure.
But that is all to say, I think to build the kinds of societies that we want to live in, to make the kind of impact in a region that we believe is important for our university to make, that uniqueness of being a place where people are educated within a community of people that care about them, that are willing to let them ask risky questions, do podcasts in the basement of the library, or play on sports teams, be in the musical, do all of those things. I think those are super crucial, because
we don't appreciate that much. I think we don't appreciate that we have the opportunity to do this, to do the podcast, the musicals, etc., etc. And I would say this explicitly, and I say that all the people who ask me, it's this freedom, this liberty that you have to the endeavors that you feel interested in and curious about, is what separates AUBG from many other places. You specialize in philosophy, as far as I know.
Philosophy and literature, yeah.
I've heard an opinion, and I would say that I absolutely agree with it, that philosophy may be the most important field that one can study in an age of AI. What do you think about this as an expert, as a person in this field?
For me, one of the best parts about philosophy, whether reading it, doing it, speaking about it with people, whatever it may be, teaching it, it's the moments in which philosophy leads you to be a non-philosopher. In other words, to take things that are relevant in a classroom and remove them from the classroom, make them something that are a part of your life.
I love this.
So the idea is philosophy, in the way in which we study it in books, it can be about building concepts, for example, to make sense of something. But in the end, the concept is just a thought game, unless you value it somewhere enough in your life to put it into motion.
Apply.
Yeah. And again, it doesn't have to be a simple instrumental version of something. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be, I don't know, Socrates saying, well, I believe in this concept of investigation, therefore I'm literally going to stop everybody on the street, bother them, ask them questions. I mean, there's something to be said for the cynics and testing people and themselves and so forth. But that's a very literal application of your own concepts. And sometimes being a philosopher is not about writing books or about coming up with new clever concepts, but it's just being self-aware enough or brave enough, courageous enough to look at yourself and ask, who the hell am I? What do I do? What do I exist for? Why am I doing this? Who am I spending my time with?
Yeah.
Like, those are philosophical questions worth thinking about, because however you answer them, you're going to end up interacting with people in ways that sort of manifest those answers that you found.
You mentioned the word courageous. And I just want to share a personal story, and then we go to questions.
Please.
So it was maybe the first time I saw you. It's my first semester here, so 1 year ago.
Okay.
And the personal story about it is that I remember there was some kind of event in BAC auditorium.
Okay.
And by the end of the event, maybe with Maria Gabriel when she was coming here, or I just don't remember, you said, guys, at the end, it was an amazing presentation, an amazing event. And the word of the day, the word of the presentation is courage. And it's something clicked in me there. First of all, it's an amazing oratory device, right? The word of this presentation, the word you remember. And second of all, courage. Courage really is one of the values, the values. So going back, I want to ask you one more question about AUBG.
Yeah.
Last one.
Sure.
What are three biggest hurdles, three biggest challenges AUBG is facing right now, in your opinion?
Well, we have the good problem of lots of students. So we need to figure out how we can still maintain the quality of education and experience that we promise everyone. So space. Right? So space is one, capacity and human resources are two. How do we make sure to, bring all the people that we need with all the expertise that we need and to maintain that? And, one of the space problems, if we're back to that, is residence hall. Chapter 3. There we go. This is great. Good example of trying to help with those problems. And then I would say financially, we're actually doing pretty well. We have a very tight belt these days.
Right on.
Right, but this is the third one, because you have to balance all these things together in order to make it work. And one of the great legacies of Dr. Ensign's time here will be the gift from the America for Bulgaria Foundation of $25 million to our endowment, because that, for the long future of AUBG, that's an incredible gift from ABF, and it will have incredible value to us in the long run as it helps us. But in the immediate, it means that we need to cinch the belt a little bit, be a little careful to make sure that, because we don't have the but we don't have the same amount coming annually from ABF that we would have in the past. So it just means we need to take care, but this is all a good thing.
Yeah.
And so I would say financial is the third one.
My last question is, can you please say a piece of advice to all young people and to our students, more or less in general, in 1 or 2 sentences? What advice would you give?
Okay, good question. That's why I laughed. Because I think about this regularly, because I have 2 sons who are 18 and almost 16. And so this kind of what advice would you give is a pretty typical dinner table thing.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, now we're not really sitting down at the dinner table to have lofty conversations about, all of life's great ambitions.
Mostly, 1 or 2 sentences.
Use your resources, use your opportunities. AUBG is about opportunities. You have incredible opportunities here. You have an incredible faculty, right? Really, they are world class. That's not a joke, right? When some of them are world class scholars, some of them are world class pedagogues and teachers, others of them are world class human beings, right? They care deeply. That is not something to be taken for granted. I think that's a spectacular resource of AUBG. Again, I think we have nice physical, spatial resources that are here too. You have a staff that cares greatly. I mean, I was literally today walking around talking with our cleaning staff, right? Talking with other staff members, it's Thanksgiving week. So, the idea is meet people and tell them that you appreciate them because you do, because they smile, they do a great job. And so that kind of community pride is important. And it doesn't mean that there aren't problems within a community. There will always be, but you can always set a baseline for how to treat each other.
Sir.
So, yep.
Amazing advice. I want to thank you for this interview and for the conversation we have. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Happy to chat.